Hello, everyone. It's Saturday, so that means we're streaming. Or, in this case, we're doing a watch along. How's everybody doing tonight? See lots of new names in chat. It's always fun to see. It's always interesting to see which series brings whom out of the woodwork. Great to see a lot of you. In case, I'm sure many of you have been either watching or lurking for a while. So great to meet you. CNA, how are you? Is this a recap of the entire series? Yes, in a way. What we're going to be watching is the recap of, I don't know what the fan base really calls it. I guess the classic series, the original series. What does the fan base call the original Phantasy Star series? It's not the universe timeline. That's not the online timeline. What do they call it? Do they just call it the original series? Because these days, when you say Phantasy Star, people kind of assume you mean Phantasy Star Online, or I guess Phantasy Star Online 2 these days. So, the Algo series, that's fair. Does Algo not exist anymore? Do they not recycle like the universes and stuff like that in the Phantasy Star universe? I wonder. 100 servings. Hope you're recording this. I am. I made sure to hit record unlike last time. Been playing Phantasy Star since 1988. That's when it first came out, I think, in the States. I think it first came out in 87 in Japan and 88 in US. In fact, I see it right there on the bottom of the screen under the credits, 88. Super busy? Well, don't worry, we got you covered. If you do miss some of this, or you have to bail, or you cannot stand the sound of my commentary but want to come back to it because you need it in doses, then no worries. In the description below, there should be a link to OBM Plays, which is the stream archive channel. So if you miss some of this or it gets really late, that's okay. Catch the replay on that. Nova, how's it going? Revu, best game ever. Well, which one? Which Phantasy Star? I guess we'll find out. Frisbee, how are you? Benjamin, Star Wars Eat Your Heart Out. Honestly, that's what made this different. We're going to have a big discussion. If you've never been part of a watch-along before, this is going to be, the first half is going to be, we're watching it, we're going to be, enjoying it, because this is also a bit of a memoriam. Phantasy Star isn't a dead series, it's transformed, but the classic series of like the, just the regular single player games, they don't make those anymore, to my knowledge. They haven't made those for quite a long time. Ever since they went online, they've never looked back, which is how the series has honestly been doing better. It's thrived that way. So good for Phantasy Star. But for those of us who perhaps wanted a more personalized, curated single player experience, that's kind of gone. It's kind of dead. And so we remember that. It's the end of an era, the end of a millennium, you could say. Jeff, PS4, yeah, PS4 really. But yeah, Phantasy Star 4 will always be considered the greatest JRPG in my opinion. That'll be interesting to see when it comes back. Just got back in work, Alessandra, nice. Shadows, how's it going? But yeah, first half is going to be, we're going to do a watch along. We're going to watch all the Phantasy Star recaps in order. We're going to be kind of taking mental notes, because the second half, if you are, uh-oh, I see major stream dips. Hold on. Jojo the Cold, how are you? Man, I really hope those stream tapes stays solid. Got a little bit of weather in the area, but I hope it's not killing the stream too bad. Apologies. The second half is going to be basically where we go to Tier Maker, and we basically rank the 4 Phantasy Star games. And it's not a simple, boring, oh, well, I like this one, this one, this one, and this one. No, that's dumb. That's shallow. You go to YouTube for those boring opinions. Or Reddit. Last I checked, there aren't too many YouTube videos being made of Phantasy Star. Brutal. But what we're going to be doing is, we're going to be taking the 5 common elements that really make a Phantasy Star game Phantasy Star, and we're going to rate them based on that. The first couple are always easy criteria. Like, all the games share a story, so we can kind of rank the story among them. All of them have characters that are, kind of focused and character-centric for many of them, so we can discuss that. All of them have exploration and combat. We can talk about the gameplay. But the last couple of elements, the last pillars that really set Phantasy Star apart, that really makes it not just another series, not just another game. What makes a game Phantasy Star-esque? What's that flavor? We're going to try to narrow that down. And by all means, this is about celebrating Phantasy Star. So for those of you who really like it, by all means, let me know. Because, just some pretext before we get started, I have never played Phantasy Star before this RECAPitation project. I've heard of it. I've had friends that have played like the online series. I've seen Universe, and I know I bought some Sega collections where Phantasy Star was thrown in there, but I never bothered to play it. So, and I never had a Master System or a Genesis growing up. So Phantasy Star kind of came and went. So for the late 80s, early 90s, I did not play Phantasy Star in its heyday, and I didn't really play it until now. So my perspective is one where it's mostly modern, where I can kind of say, how well has this held up since the 80s and 90s? Because I was around for that playing RPGs, so we can certainly compare. But I wouldn't say I'm a really huge hardcore Phantasy Star fan, so I will definitely say that I will probably get many things wrong, and my opinion will certainly be that from that perspective. So for those of you who are super passionate about it, please do not take the second half where, if you don't know my style, very analytical, very critical. And that's true of everything. Because I believe that only when you really apply pressure, when you really scrutinize something, can you get the good quality to come out. Only under pressure can you get diamonds, I always feel. I've always believed that was true. So what can we do? What can we see about this Phantasy Star series? And we always have to take the personal feelings out of it. Sometimes I will let you know that sometimes my observations can be scathing. So no, don't take it personal, all right? We're all parasocial friends here. Alessandro, calm down. Stop complaining about the game. I know, right? Bort license place with the 10. Thank you so much, Oni Black Mage. Even fighters wielding the Masamune have no chance against the mighty Oni Black Mage. That's right. Thank you. High five. Because I believe that we need to observe what this game series did well on an individual basis, and we should also observe what it could have done better. Let's just be real. We don't really want to have the thickest nostalgia goggles on because that's just not realistic. Remember that things can be fun, fascinating, or fulfilling and be a good game on its own, but you do have to realize in the greater scheme of things, Phantasy Star, the classic series, it was really big at one point. It's fallen off the wayside, and then history goes on as it marches on. Will this series be remembered? I hope I did my part with the recap series. Even people who may not in the future have accessibility to the games, at least the story's there. So, did my part for preserving history. But enough of that. Let's get started. Sid, how's it going? Steve, try to get into Phantasy Star, can never get into them. I have thoughts. I have thoughts on some of them. The good news is that from a person like me who does not have a personal background with this series, a long-standing history with it, I also don't have the bias. I do not have the nostalgia goggles for it. So I can kind of observe it from an outside in who, yeah, I played the games. I, roughly know what I'm talking about from the person who's played the games. But it won't be where I don't see this game or its series for its faults. And we'll talk about that. Any plans on doing recapitations for the Armored Core series? You'd think that with Armored Core coming out next year, maybe. But Armored Core isn't exactly a story-centric series. It's very much a gameplay-focused series. I have played almost all of the US release Armored Core series, and I can definitely say from personal experience that you can pretty much ignore the story, or at least I did, and you'll still have a great time. I really do wonder, all the people that have enjoyed the Souls series so far, jumping into Armored Core, thinking it's going to be Armored Souls, oh boy. Oh boy, you're about to learn. Okay, let's get started. And I will probably talk over this too, just to kind of think out loud, so don't mind it. Let's go. Released by Sega in 1987 on the Master System, Phantasy Star would be the premier installment of an RPG franchise blending medieval fantasy and science fiction.
Directed by Kotaro Hayashida,
It's kind of like a behind the scenes kind of thing where we're watching this. I'm sure most of you have seen the video itself, so it's not like you're missing it. This really shouldn't be the first time you've seen this.
The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with RECAPitation. As the game begins, it's the year.
This is one of the few times I had to use the manual for backstory because they didn't put this information in the game. And a lot of this is very important backstory. This is back in the day, though, where we actually had big, thick manuals with our games on our cartridges. Oh boy, those are the days. But at the same time, it really does make you feel, it's like, oh man, like, compared to game design these days, where they incorporate the story into the game itself in some capacity, they do that with, like, you know, usage of cutscenes, like this, for example. It also kind of bums me out because this is 1987 is when this is, and look at the quality of these portraits. This was very unusual. This is considered like HD graphics if you want to put like things into perspective. This of course is the gameplay. You know, very rough. That's just how it was back in the day. You know, the 8-bit, 16-bit era. But these like actual stills, like this pixel art itself is already setting itself apart from a lot of games that came out in 1987/1988. This blew my mind. When I first saw this, I'm like, this came out in this day and age? It wasn't true 3D, but they did such a good job making it look and feel like 3D. And yeah, it's very plain. All of the dungeons look alike with that sort of maze, but I have to say that that was very ambitious, and they pulled it off very well. It looked very smooth. It looks smooth even today.
As they rest, though they are set upon by a nightmarish succubus who devours them in their sleep. Waking from the bizarre bad dream.
Uh-oh, stream is stuttering. Oh no. I'm pausing it. Your stream did not freeze. I'm pausing it to see if I can't. Why is it jumping so much? I hope I don't have to restart the stream. This always happens when I do this on a Saturday. Somebody's stealing my internet. I know, it really feels that way. Wow. For some reason, it's just tanking right now, and I don't know why. Okay, tell you what, chat, I'm going to restart my router real fast, and we're gonna try this one more time. We got some. You had a bad dream. What a perfect screen to pause on. All right, I'm gonna restart this stream real fast. I apologize for the technical difficulties. We will be right back. Sorry about this.